All right, can you hear me? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Layer 13, as we are preparing to get underway for the second out of 5 races for FEC's IROC Championship. Real quickly, as we look through the grid, it is reverse driver points. So the drivers who did not start last week get to start at the front, although a few of them have elected to start in the back of the grid, mainly being Scored Buffalo and Claiming Racer. But this means that it's DIR Dremore who will be starting on pole, followed by Pindaz, NFL Racer, Thomas 086R, Stinky Potato, Knees Morphed, Dino Prime, Maybe Racing, SRD Shredder, PTG Net, and Jack Broseph. And again, Scored Buffalo and Claiming Racer, while they had the option to start at the front, they have elected to start at the rear of the grid for today's event. Just like last time, this is anticipated to be a single-stop affair today. Similar rules, similar everything. The big difference, though, instead of it being a nearly 2.5-mile circuit, we are now at a 1.5-mile circuit with two nice, less extremely banked straightaways. The corners are still plenty wide, but you actually have a lot more racing room here. However, in practice and the pre-race practice, a lot of drivers were complaining about wildly different issues, from everything from the rear end stepping out, from oversteer to understeer, drivers struggling to find the ideal lines. This may be a case where, due to the eclectic setup of this car, there may not be very many drivers who are actually able to make any significant runs. This is likely going to be a race dominated by the same 2 or 3 people that always automatically dominate in the FEC and IFEA championships. We also want to give a real quick shout out of thanks to BWT Magnesium, who is going to slot in and perform pace car duties for today's event. As we said, Dremora is going to be starting on the pole. Pindaz will be starting in the second position. After that will be NFL Racer, then Stinky Potato, then after that will be Knees Morphed, followed by Dino Prime 77, Maybe Racing, SRD Shredder, who has not finished outside of the 4th in an oval race for the last week and a half, PTG Neb, Jack Broseph, and then, like I said, Scored Buffalo, Claiming Racer, and it looks like Thomas 086 are all at the back. I imagine Thomas will rush around to get back into his proper position momentarily here. So already the field is getting doubled up here. So 2 rows of 6, and then 1 driver at the very back will be completely solo. Be 116 laps of running here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Coming to the start-finish line, green flag is out, we are underway, and Dremora did not get a very good start whatsoever. Immediately, they are 4 wide out behind them. 1 driver is down onto the apron, gets all sorts of sideways. They're still sideways. 2, 3 drivers get into the walls farther back. There's another near spin farther back. That was Neb who very nearly lost control at the back of the grid, and Pindaz has gone right to the front, and Shredder has gone from near the rear of the grid all the way up into 2nd spot in just a single mile, and now he's firing up the inside to try and take over the lead of the race. Dino Prime has also already moved up into the 3rd position, so Shredder goes from the back to the front in just a single lap, and now he's trying to cut down in front of Dino. Pindaz licks the outside wall, and there's going to be multiple cars involved in that incident. It looks like Dremora is one of the other drivers involved, and it looks like it was either NFL Racer or PTG Neb who also were caught up in that. So a 4-car incident right there on the 2nd racing lap will put us into the yellow flag very quickly here. We're going to go ahead and knock out a Twitch-mandated ad break. We'll be back momentarily here at Miami. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we'll welcome you back here to Homestead Miami Speedway as we are under the yellow flag for a lap 2 accident. We're anticipating that we should be able to go green at the end of this lap. Is SRD Shredder, who has moved a significant distance up the grid. In fact, if you look at the changes, he has gone 9 positions up. Technically, it's only 8 positions because BWT Magnesium was a pace car. He doesn't really count. But we saw him go from what was basically the 9th position up to 1st in just a single mile, but chaos erupted right behind him, so we're definitely going to be trying to keep an eye on him. But the entire field has pretty much doubled up. Shredder has chosen to restart on the outside. Kneesmorph will be the driver on his inside. Dino will be on the outside in row 2. Green flag. Again, the inside line just does not get going at all, and Shredder completely clears Kneesmorph and Dino before they even get into the corner. They are already 3 wide, nearly 4 wide, as they head into... Oh, and that is somebody around back there. That is Thomas, who has spun around, and he's backed it into the wall in turn number 1, 2. The front of the car has some significant damage. I don't know if they're going to go yellow for that or not. Yes, it does sound like they are going to go yellow flag. So we are back under the yellow. We have not gotten more than a mile, well, about 2 miles of green flag racing straight here. It was a single car incident, and it is Pindaz who is ducking into the pits along with Thomas. Is Pindaz involved in the accident? Yes, it looks like Pindaz must have hit Thomas in the rear as Thomas was spinning around. So one interesting thing I noticed while we were under the ad break, one thing that's likely got Shredder up to the front, he is running a very, very light fuel tank right now. He does not have a lot of fuel in the car, giving him a little bit less weight for him to have to drag around the corners. Doesn't have to struggle as much dealing with the centrifugal forces. And with that, along with the fact that, you know, there's a little bit less weight for the engine to push forward, I believe that is one of the main reasons why he was able to go from the back to the front so quickly. The big thing, though, is that he is underfilled compared to everyone else, so he will have to pit a little bit earlier than the other drivers here and may have to work his way back through the field again later in the event. We'll keep an eye on him. So it's still Shredder and Kneesmorphed here at the front, but the field has still not gathered up. It seems like Thomas has come to a stop, or was briefly at a stop, on the back straightaway. He's finally moving now, so we should be going on lap 9. Alright, everyone's already doubled up, but only 4 drivers are electing to restart on the inside line, so it seems very clear to me that the inside line just does not have the get up and go needed. The outside line looks like it's going to be the line of choice for the majority of the day today, as they're coming down to take the green flag for the second restart here at Homestead Miami. Immediately, they're getting racy farther back, but this time Kneesmorph was a little bit more up on the wheel. He's going to try and keep it side by side with Shredder going into the corner. Is not going to be able to make it happen this time, but a little bit stronger of a restart this time by Kneesmorph. He comes up, knocks into the side of Dino, nearly loses the car coming out of the corner, and now they're 4 wide for the second position, and that is Scored Buffalo, who's already moved up into the second spot. Now he goes to the inside, and that is Sneaky Potato, who has gotten stuck on the outside wall farther back. Kneesmorphed is now already fallen out of the top 5 positions as they come across the line. Shredder is your leader. Scored Buffalo runs just behind him along with Dino Prime and Maybe Racing. Kneesmorphed is back up into the 5th position. And finally, we are up to full speed here. Maybe slides right in front of Kneesmorph. Kneesmo tries to look down low. He can't go low. Clayming is already there. Clayming gets to his inside. They're side by side just ahead between Dino and Maybe. Our top 2 do seem to be single file for the moment. Dino running an extreme outside line is going to wash out into the wall and is going to lose a huge chunk of time in the process. And there's a little bit of contact farther back there. And that is Dino and I believe it was Jack who also very nearly wrecked as they were ping-ponging off the walls and each other going down the straightaways. But at the front, it is Shredder and Scored starting to pull away from the rest of the field here. Claiming Racer is up to 3rd position. Baby is in 4th. PTG Neb runs in the 5th position. Neb now looking at the inside of Maybe Racing. But these cars really seem to struggle trying to hold that extreme inside line that Neb was working there. He'll fall back into Maybe's draft. And now everyone starts going to a single file formation. Starting to close up a little bit in a potential fight for the 2nd spot. Shredder running a little bit higher, wider line. Oh, and the draft caught Claiming off guard. Claiming went from being on the inside all the way to nearly hitting the outside wall. Shredder slings down, throws a block on Scored Buffalo. Be right on board with Claiming Racer as he closes in on the 2 leaders once again. Now Scored has a run on Shredder's inside. Cannot make it stick, not that time. Now here comes Scored. He's going to look to the inside again, going into turns 3 and 4. He's got that ideal inside line and should be able to make a slide job, no issue. Shredder has to back out of it. Claiming gets a huge run. They'll block Shredder on the outside line. Claiming has a fantastic run down the straight. And while Scored is the one who leads at the line, Shredder is still right there. And now Claiming finds himself sideways. Oh, and Scored's really sideways. Got the bumper put to him by Shredder and walked him way up the circuit. Side by side for a 2nd position. Shredder is still right there. He's trying to hold the inside. Cannot do anything about it. Oh, and all of a sudden, Shredder is slow. Shredder is ducking into the pits. Shredder is pitting under the green flag circumstances. Only 15 laps into the event, so whatever has happened there, that's likely going to derail him. That will probably catch him a lap or 2 down going forward. He still is in the pit lane. So again, we're going to see him go a lap or more down, but now it is Claiming, Scored, and Maybe. The top 3, these 3 drivers win 95% of the races in FEC and IFEA competition. But now we see a pack starting to form behind them. That is Jack Broseph, PTG Neb, and Neesmore starting to close in. Reminder, PTG Neb showed in the PTG NASCAR Series last season that he does have some oval prowess, and Jack Broseph is the driver who built these cars. He also set these cars up to run on a wheel setup, and he is using a wheel setup. So Jack Broseph was a distinctly what you might call unfair advantage that he's trying to utilize here to get to the front, as we now have a 7-car pack at the front. Shredder, though, at the back of this pack is a lap down and is not legitimately fighting for these positions right now. Oh, and that's a little bit of contact there, and that is Scored Buffalo, who is backwards and into the outside wall. He takes Shredder with him. There's another car spinning to the inside, almost into the outside wall. There goes Thomas. But Scored Buffalo tried to make it side by side, a little bit of contact, and staying washed out into the outside wall. Was Shredder's car damaged in that incident? Yes, he has some significant front end damage after that. And you'll have to duck it into the pits to repair it. So it seems like these cars do not have the grip necessary in order to properly race here. If Scored Buffalo, who is arguably the best driver in the FEC IFEA contingency, is not able to control this car relatively early in the event, if he is having trouble, then that speaks volumes to the fact that potentially these cars need significantly more grip. So a very interesting scenario, but your leader right now is Claiming Racer, and everything about the starting grid has basically meant absolutely nothing. Nobody is anywhere close to where they started this race right now. 2 drivers are left down at this stage of the event. They are DR Dramora and SRD Shredder, and we will go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break here, and we'll be back momentarily at Homestead Miami Speedway. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Homestead Miami Speedway. While we are under the yellow, multiple drivers, including the leader, Claiming Racer, elected to jump into the pit lane. We also saw both DIR Dremora and SRD Shredder get the ability to run around and get back to the tail end of the lead lap. So all 13 starters are now back in the race on the lead lap. But your leader is the driver who set up these cars. It is Jack Broseph, with NFL Racer running right behind in second, and Thomas 086R in third, the highest he has been all day today. We're anticipating that we will see them go green flag this time. Yep, the field now begins to double up here, it looks like. The outside line had been the lane of choice, but this time a lot of drivers are actually committing to an inside line, and a lot of the faster drivers are going to the outside line, so they're going to be on that tighter outside line. Those will be a little interesting, because the outside line has been the lane of choice on the restarts, but as they come to the restart, green is out, and away we go. It is going to be Jack versus NFL at the front, and it will be Jack who gets on the throttle and clears everybody. For the first time, the driver on the inside line leads going through turn one. Already they're nearly 3 wide farther back there. As Thomas, that is maybe already rushing up through the field on I would say significantly fresher tires. Side by side for lead though between NFL and Jack Broseph. NFL is way high, and there is somebody who is sideways. That is Thomas, who spins down onto the apron. No one else collects him, so we might still be able to see them stay green. Now maybe gets to the outside of Jack Broseph. Just about side by side, but no, maybe he's gonna back off a little bit. He's gonna try and get a toe off of Jack and try to drag him in a straight line using the draft. Pit strats do not mean anything. It seems like the drivers who are just a little bit better, so the ones such as Maybe, the ones such as Shredder, the ones such as Claiming Racer and Scored Buffalo, they're able to make moves wherever they want and make up as many positions as they want in a single lap. So position and pit strategy does not look like it's going to have any impact throughout the course of the day. It's likely going to be about 2 or 3 drivers just rushing up through the field from the back to the front time after time again. It will almost always be those same 2 or 3 drivers. Jack and Maybe side by side down the back straightaway, and now they fire off side by side into turns 3 and 4. That's NFL, who's recovered from that big slide earlier. He's going to try and look to the inside. He wants to make it 3 wide as they come onto the front straightaway. I think this will be enough to put Maybe in the lead, but still he's got 2 cars on his inside, and here comes the 4th driver. That's Claiming, who's coming back up through the field. NFL backs out of it. Jack on the inside is going to go deep, very deep, and going to try and slide up right in front of Maybe. Now Claiming gets around the inside of Maybe. Jack tries to block Claiming. Claiming's going to go even farther down. They'll be 3 wide again this time as they go into turns 3 and 4. It is Claiming who clears both Jack and Maybe, but now Claiming goes up into the outside wall and immediately starts losing ground. Now Shredder is back into the fray. We see Neesmorph is in the fray as well. They're 4 wide for the 2nd position behind Maybe Racing. Shredder has a run. He goes to the inside. They're 3 wide for a 3rd spot behind. Now 4 wide, and they are side by side, and somehow they did not wreck. Neesmorph is back up into the fray as well. He's moving into the 4th position now. Riding on board very briefly with Neesmorph here as he looks at these 3 cars ahead. A little bit of a push on the inside line will get Maybe back ahead of SRD Shredder. Claiming will follow suit. Neesmorph has a huge run, but he needs to be careful not to wash out into the outside wall. They go down the front straightaway. Shredder has the car ahead by about a 1/3 of a car length as they fire off into turn number 1 this time. Maybe inside, Shredder outside, Maybe having a little bit of trouble on the entry to middle of the corner, but he does seem to have enough control coming out of the corners to pull alongside and have a nice even drag race down the straightaways. Claiming continues to run in 3rd position. Now he looks low, trying to block off Neesmorph. Now we see NFL trying to wrap around the extreme outside. A little bit of contact between the 2 leaders as they came out of turn number 4. As they come across the line, it is Shredder who leads once again. Maybe to his inside is 2 by 2, bumper to bumper at the very head of this field. Still side by side there, Thomas 086R has elected to duck into the pit lane. We're not sure what the reasoning for that is. Shredder nearly losing control coming out of the corner, slams down into Maybe's door. That's going to back up the outside line just a bit. That should be enough to let Maybe clear Shredder. No, it's not. Maybe is sliding wide. Now here comes Claiming. They're trying to be 3 wide on the 2 uppermost lanes on the circuit. Big contact there between Claiming and Maybe. Shredder leads again as they come across the line. Still side by side. Top 6 drivers all on top of each other. Neb is just a little bit farther back from this group. So now Maybe gets into the front. He's finally cleared Shredder. It is now Shredder versus Claiming Racer for the second spot. Still nothing can be done. It seems like these overtakes are taking multiple laps to complete. Neesmore slaps the outside wall. He's going to lose a huge chunk of time in the process. Neesmore will fall back to the 6th position now. Actual fall all the way back to 7th. Claiming now getting to the inside of Shredder as they come onto the back straight, but Shredder is going to look to make a dive bomb. He gets touched there. He's sideways and very nearly losing control down the straightaway. Still side by side going into turn 3. That's going to give Maybe a significant advantage. He does not have to worry about the draft of cars behind, and Jack Broseph now moves up into 2nd position, and a big slide coming out of the corner by, I believe that was Maybe, yeah, your leader very nearly lost control of the car coming out of turn number 4, and that big gap he opened up is gone, as now Jack Broseph gets to his inside. Jack is going to pull alongside, has not cleared Maybe yet. Here comes Claiming Racer. Claiming's going to look high. He's going to try and follow Maybe through, while Jack is going to hold that inside line. Shredder has worked his way up into 4th. Neb has worked his way up into the 5th position. Claiming is going to pull alongside Maybe for 2nd. As it comes to the line, it will be Jack who leads by about half a car length over Maybe Racing. Maybe still on the outside. Jack still on the inside. Side by side, neck and neck. Still nothing there from Claiming. He's stuck behind Jack, just giving him a big shove down the back straightaway, but not really able to move him out of the way at all. 2 and 3 wide. Claiming trying to throw it up the inside between Jack and Maybe. 3 wide as they come across the line. Too close to call, but the game says it was Claiming who led between those 3. Now they're 3 wide for a 3rd position as Jack and Claiming are the ones side by side. Neb wants to try and make it extreme inside. Jack is going to shut off the inside line, will not give him the shot. Claiming and Jack still side by side, but now Shredder gives Claiming a bit of a shove, and Claiming will finally clear, and he'll go into the lead. And this pack of cars has been getting bigger and bigger. Now the top 9 are all in this big pack at the head of this field. They're all just sliding, giving up so much time fighting with each other. That is meaning that the slower drivers, even though they don't have ideal lines, are still running smoother, quicker laps than our top leaders are, because they are all just sliding and compromising each other's lines. Armstrong inside, Shredder middle, Claiming outside, 3 wide down the back straightaway once again. Jack is going to back out of it once more. Someone is in ghost mode. That was Thomas who is in ghost mode going down the back straightaway, but we stay green for the moment. Shredder leads. Claiming is on his outside. Jack Broseph trying to come up on the inside. There'll be 3 wide across the line. It will be Claiming who leads by 16 thousandths of a second. Jack is going to fire it off onto the extreme inside line. He'll slide up the track, and he's going to have a big wiggle. Very nearly hit Shredder. He does hit Shredder. And now both Shredder and Claiming are dropping down positions. Jack very nearly loses it all over again. Claiming goes into the lead, and Jack and Shredder go from being 2nd and 3rd to 7th and 8th now. It is now Dino who's gone up into the 2nd spot on track, just barely ahead of Scored Buffalo. And now they fire it off down the front straightaway once again. The top 4, for the moment, calm down. It is Claiming, Dino, Scored Buffalo, and PTG Neb. Neesmore runs in the 5th position. Now Shredder gets by him. Shredder is already back into the top 5. Jack has slipped to 8th now behind Maybe Racing. But Claiming Racer, who has won at Miami in multiple different kind of cars under the FEC and IFEA categories, is leading once again. Dino, who won this race as the season finale, just enough for him to lock up a championship in the IFEA NASCAR Championship last season, is right behind him. So 2 drivers who are very experienced around this 1.5 mile oval. Still staying nose to tail. They're side by side behind that. Scored Buffalo outside. PTG Neb to the inside. Neb has a fantastic run, but cannot carry enough of it onto the straightaway. They're still stuck side by side for 3rd position, but Neb is trying to go deep so he can pull up alongside Dino. He'll do just that. Neb to the inside of Dino for 2nd position now. Shredder is trying to ride the extreme outside farther back and ends up losing ground in the process. Claiming Racer now side by side with Dino as Dino gets to Claiming's inside as they fire off into turn number 1 with about 80 laps to go here. Still side by side for a lead. Dino is going to get the car about halfway in front of Claiming, about 2/3 of the way in front, but that outside line has a significant advantage coming out of the corners. Claiming gets the car back ahead. They're almost in a dead heat, but going into turn number 3, Claiming will slide back down in front of Dino. Claiming maintains the lead spot. It is still side by side behind them between Scored Buffalo and PTG Neb. NFL Racer now licks the wall just a little bit farther back from this group, and he will lose touch with our pack of 8 here at the head of the field. Still, Dino on the inside, Claiming on the outside, but now PTG Neb has solidly taken over 3rd position, as Scored, Maybe, and Shredder all in a 3-way fight for 3rd position. Shredder now trying to make the extreme inside line work. Scored's being trapped on the extreme outside line, very nearly getting into the wall. He can't keep it off the wall. He's going to just barely touch the wall, lose a huge chunk of time in the process. He's going to drop out of the top 5. Meanwhile, at the front, it is still Claiming Racer, but now PTG Neb around the outside has pulled up alongside Dino as they go into turns 1 and 2. Shredder is completely sideways, gets onto the apron. Somehow he does not crash the car, but he will now lose touch with this lead pack in the process. And now the lead pack goes into single file formation just for a moment, but all of a sudden someone's in the wall further back. That's Kneesmorph. Kneesmorph will now fall out of the top 5. Here comes PTG Neb. Neb gets to the inside of Claiming Racer as they come out of turn number 4, but he does not have any momentum. He will actually lose ground. No, he's coming back now as he got a little bit of a shove from Dino. Side by side, Neb actually got the nose ahead as they win to turn number 1. Neb is washing the car up track, trying to slide right in front of Claiming to deny Claiming the outside line, but Claiming is still right there. Claiming is side by side with Neb as they go onto the back straightaway once again. Side by side as they fire it off into turns 3 and 4 once again. It is Neb on the outside, Claiming on the inside. No, I'm sorry. It is Neb on the inside, Claiming on the outside. Neb is a little bit tighter with Claiming coming out of turn number 4 this time, but again, does not seem to have that big Herculean speed that he needs. He is able to send it off way deeper into turn number 1. He gets the car about a foot ahead of Claiming, just the nose, a foot ahead of Claiming's nose going into turns 1 and 2, but when they come out of turn number 2, the advantage swings back into Claiming's favor. We have a 6-car breakaway right now. Claiming, Neb, Maybe, Dino, Scored Buffalo, and Jack Brosup, and these two at the front continue to go side by side, but there's just nowhere for Maybe or Dino Prime behind them to get alongside until now. Maybe sees a little bit of a bobble. He's going to go to the inside. Neb pulls up behind Claiming, so now Maybe he's going to go deep and try and go side by side with Neb, but he gets cut down on. Maybe on the inside line loses a huge chunk of speed. He'll now fall back to 4th, might even lose the position as Scored Buffalo this time. And now, Neb is right tucked up behind Claiming Racer again. Nose to tail as they fire it off into turns 3 and 4 once more. Neb has a little bit tighter line, but now he catches the draft of Claiming, and that causes his car to wash up the track. He gets a little bit of a shove by Dino as they come out turn number 4. The top 4 are in nose to tail formation as they go across the start finish line, fire it off into turns 1 and 2 once again. Neb, once again, is keeping the car about a third of a lane tighter on the inside than what Claiming is doing. This time, though, he does not walk up into the outside wall. Does he look to the inside? He won't, but Scored Buffalo will now look to the inside Dino Prime, but he is not willing to commit to it. Our top 6 continue to stay nose to tail formation at the head of this field. Dino ends up now washing a little bit high in the draft, and Scored Buffalo will take advantage. So Scored Buffalo lunges to the inside line. He'll pull up alongside Dino Prime, side by side for a 3rd position. Scored's gonna lunge deep going into turn number 1, side by side for Neb with 2nd position. They make big contact. Scored has a big slide. Neb has a big slide. He gets touched by Dino. He washes even higher. Neb and Dino both are going to hemorrhage a huge amount of time. They're going to fall back to the 4th and 5th position. Jack Brosup is going to get to the inside. Scored Buffalo side by side for a 2nd spot. Claiming Racer continues to lead here. Bit of a slide, bit of a walk up the track. The number 31 almost hits that safer barrier on the extreme outside line. Still side by side between Jack Brosup and Scored Buffalo. Jack on the inside line. Again, he has a big advantage. He was the one who designed these cars. He knows how these cars race more than anyone else, but he slides out wide. Scored Buffalo holds the inside line. So a mid-corner crossover puts Scored Buffalo on the inside of Jack Brosup as they head off into turns 3 and 4. Who goes deeper into the following quarter? It's going to be Scored. Scored goes deep enough that Claiming actually has to go down and block Scored to take some of the air off of Scored's nose. Claiming continues to lead, but Scored is now the driver that Claiming has to worry about. Jack Brosup gives Claiming a bit of a shove down the front straightaway, but Scored is right there. He's looking at the inside, cannot get alongside Claiming that time. He will fall back into a side-by-side fight with Jack Brosup on the outside for 2nd position. They go down the back straightaway once again. Claiming outside, this time Scored gets a gigantic lunge. Scored lunges very deep into the corner, and Scored is going to go into the lead. So Scored goes into the lead now, but Claiming Racer is back on the outside as they come across the line. Claiming still led at the line by 68 thousandths of a second. Scored Buffalo on the inside, Claiming Racer on the outside. Scored trying to make that tighter inside line work. Claiming is doing maximum usage of the run coming off of the banking. Still side by side for our top 4 positions right now. Claiming Scored side by side, Dino and Jack side by side. Maybe is hanging out in 5th. There is a second pack starting to form farther back with Shredder, Neb, and NFL Racer in the 6th, 7th, and 8th position. If our top 5 continue to race, those 3 may catch this pack once again here. Claiming continues to lead. The thing is that Claiming is fast enough to lead, or maybe I should say smart enough to lead, but because of how powerful the draft is, it doesn't matter how good you are, you just cannot break away from the rest of the field. Now Scored Buffalo gets back to Claiming's inside, side by side between these two once again, as they fire it off into turns 3, fire it off into turn 4. This time Scored Buffalo has gone so deep, he's completely cleared Claiming. He is well ahead, he's got about a half car length between himself and Claiming Racer. Scored finally leads that layup easily, but Claiming has a huge draft. He's going to use that draft to go for a big dive bomb going at turn number 1. Maybe Racing is going to follow. That means that Scored cannot block the inside line. Scored commits to the extreme outside line, cannot utilize that outside line run the same way Claiming does. Claiming leads once again. Now he is being pushed by Maybe Racing. Scored Buffalo is right there as well. Still side by side in for these positions here, and Dino right there, he was side by side for a 3rd position, but got trapped in the extreme outside. Now he's gonna fall back to 4th, and don't look now, but Neb, NFL, and SRD Shredder have now caught this pack, so we are now back to having a 8-car pack here at the head of the field. Oh, Scored Buffalo washes wide. He's gonna lick the outside wall coming out turn number 2. He'll go from 2nd all the way down to 8th in just a single corner in the process. So now Claiming Racer leads, and it is Jack Broseph who is the driver who is going to give him the most headache. Now Jack looks to the inside of Claiming. Claiming's gonna go ahead, walk a little high so he can get a good run coming out of the corner. There are 4 cars just about nose to tail sacked on that outside lane. Now Jack goes down. He dives deep into turn number 1. He cannot clear Claiming though, but he's gonna wash up a little high. Claiming washes up a little high just to avoid contact from being made. Shredder's gonna come up around the extreme inside line. He's very nearly gonna lose control. 3 wide for a 2nd position. Shredder has to pull out of it. He'll go back to 4th. Maybe and Jack side by side for 2nd. Claiming continues to lead. So it does seem like at this stage of the race, Claiming Racer is the dominant driver today. He seems to have a better understanding of how to defend than anyone else here right now. Still, Jack pulls up to the inside of Claiming. If you want to get Claiming out of there, you're going to have to get physical. You're going to have to door check him to try and get him off that ideal line, force him to get off the gas a bit so he loses some of that outside line momentum. Shredder, 3rd on the outside line, very nearly lost control again on the outside. Baby still runs in 2nd position now as he is just trying to follow Claiming around, but Jack's gonna pull back to the inside of Maybe, side by side for that spot once again. Jack has a great run, a very good run that should be enough to get him alongside Maybe, but Maybe has the draft off of Claiming. But now a little bit of a shove from PTG Neb means that Jack can go very deep into turn number 1, side by side, still even 2 by 2 by 2 for the top 6 positions. And coming out of turn number 2, it's still too close to call who's going to be leading at the head of this field. It's Claiming and Jack, and a dead heat as they come across the back straightaway, firing off into turn number 3. Claiming has the car most of the way ahead. Jack actually ends up having to back out, but now Claiming's backing out just a little bit. Jack's getting a run back as they come out of turn number 4. Side by side, but coming to the line again, Claiming will lead by about 0.03 of a second that time. Once more, Jack dives to the inside line, makes a little bit, no, he did not make contact, but because he keeps backing out and Claiming is not backing out, Claiming is able to make that outside line work. It's not a true outside line, it's not a NASCAR-style Carl Larson line when you hold the line right against the safer barrel all the way around. It's more of a enter high, you run the middle lane mid-corner, and then you exit high. That seems to be the lane that is working the best for Claiming, but Jack is doing a respectable job trying to make this tight inside line work. The big problem, though, is that the inside line is just not good enough to make an overtake stick. You will never be able to make an entire overtake stick on the inside on merit. You need the driver on the outside to have some sort of bobble, some sort of hiccup, something go wrong. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. So, our top 8 cars all still right on top of each other. Neesmorph and Stinky Potato run side by side with each other, 9th and 10th, and then Pindaz and Dremora run with each other in 11th and 12th positions right now. They come out of the corner, and there's a car sideways, farther back, slamming into the outside wall. SRD Shredder was hooked by Scored Buffalo for a second time in 2 weeks. He will recover. He did not take any damage, but this will push. That was not Scored Buffalo. I'm sorry, that was NFL Racer. But now, Shredder and NFL lose touch with the top 6 all over again. So now we're back to having only a 6-car pack at the head of this field. And they are all single file for the moment, as we are burning down on the race's halfway point. As they come across the line, it'll be lap 57 out of 117. So not quite halfway, but they're almost there. Jack and Dino in second and third both try to get out of line to try and make something work, but there's just nothing you can do. Claiming has this ideal line, and there is just no way to get by him unless you want to put the bumper to him or hope that he makes a big mistake somewhere. There is a possibility that they catch some traffic a little bit later on. Thomas 086R is running around 2 laps down, about 7 or 8 seconds ahead of this group right now. So depending on how this goes, they may eventually catch Thomas, and Thomas being lap traffic might end up having a knock-on effect here. Flaming Racer continues to lead. Jack Broseph second. Dino Prime in third. Jack has a tremendous run going down the back straightaway this time, but he is not willing to commit. I think everyone's realized that you cannot make the inside lane work. As the track is rubbering in, this track has become a single lane racetrack, and it is this high line where you enter the corner high, go to a medium lane mid-corner, and then exit the corner high. That seems to be the only lane. Every other lane, while you can hold it, will not get you position gains, and if anything, you're just running the risk of losing control of your car. So our top 6 drivers all running nose to tail. They are not trying to make moves anymore, it would appear. SRD Shredder and NFL Racer in 7th and 8th have hooked up. I imagine they're going to try and run some faster laps to run down the top group. But the big thing is, as long as these top 6 all stay nose to tail, there will be no chance for Shredder or NFL to catch this group. Now we see a bit of a move there. Neb looked to the inside of maybe, but was not willing to commit to it down the back straightaway. Dino looked to the inside of Jack, was not able to commit to it going into turn 1. Stinky Potato is going to pit farther back in the 10th position. We are now halfway through the event. So now the question is going to be, how many drivers here have the fuel to make it to the end? I'm going to be honest, I think the answer is none of them. I don't think a single person is in a position that they can take the fuel that they have right now and run it to the end of the race today. I imagine everyone's going to have to make at least one more stop before this is over. Yeah, looking through the grid here, fuel is going to be a big issue for a lot of these drivers, so we're going to be seeing green flag stops momentarily here. That might be what breaks up this big pack of cars. Now we see maybe getting to the outside of Jack. Dino is going to fall now behind PTG Neb. Might end up falling behind Scored Buffalo as well. So now this pack starts getting all side by side again. 2 by 2 by 2 as they fire it off into turn number 3. It is Jack who leads, claiming trapped on the extreme outside line. He seems to be struggling just a little bit. He very nearly gets to the outside wall, and claiming, who has dominated the last 20 or so laps, now suddenly loses grip on the lead of this race. He's going to fall behind the 3 drivers ahead. He's going to fall back to 4th. Might even lose that to Scored Buffalo here. So maybe Racing is now your leader with Jack Broseph and PTG Neb side by side. Maybe gets to the outside wall. Maybe is going to lose complete touch with the leaders as he has hit the outside wall. He's going to fall all the way back to the 8th position in the process. So it is now Jack Broseph who leads, but he misses the corner in turn 3. He's now going to fall back to the 5th position. So now it is Scored Buffalo. No, it's not. He hits the outside wall coming out of the corner. Now PTG Neb leads. Neb goes from about 5th to 1st in a single lap, and now Dino, who is behind Neb, takes the lead as they go into turn number 1 now. Now it is Dino who leads in front of PTG Neb. Neb's going to do a bit of a crossover move on the exit of turn number 2. Neb inside, Dino outside, side by side as they go down the back straightaway. Neb has the car about 3/4 of the way ahead as they fire off into turn 3 once again. Neb will be able to go plenty deep and should be able to clear Dino. Claiming Racer is side by side with Scored Buffalo for a 3rd position, just a little bit behind them. Neb completes the overtake on Dino. Dino now tries to go back to the inside, side by side for leads that go across the start-finish line. Dino led by 0.003 of a second at the line. Dino leads as they go into turn number 1, but the car slides high. Neb is going to go back to the inside, side by side again. And Neb is still side by side with Dino as they come out of turn number 2. To the inside comes Scored. Buffalo on the extreme inside line is going to make it 3 wide as they go into turn number 3. Scored is way deep, maybe too deep. His car is sliding wide. Neb is holding the more stable line. Neb is going to go back in front of Scored Buffalo, but Buffalo has cleared Dino Prime. He has cleared Claiming Racer. Claiming is now stuck side by side with Dino for 3rd position. Scored's got to look back to the inside of PTG Neb. Side by side again as they go through turns 1 and 2. A little bit of contact, but they both keep their cars straight. Scored Buffalo puts a slight block on Claiming Racer. Claiming's going to go to the extreme outside as they come out of turn number 2. Down the back straightaway once again, side by side. Neb holds the outside line. Scored fires it off deep into the inside line. Neb trapped on the outside line, has nothing he can do. Scored will complete the overtake. This time he will not slide to the outside wall. Claiming Racer makes contact once, twice with Neb, and they'll all go back to single file formation across the line. Scored, Neb, Claiming, and Dino. Those are your top 4 right now. NFL Racer has gone ahead and ducked into the pit lane. Maybe Racing has lost touch with this group. SRD Shredder has also lost touch. Shredder is about 1.5 seconds out of the lead for Maybe is about 3.1 seconds out of the lead for right now. Only 8 drivers still on the lead lap as we are seeing drivers going ahead and committing to green flag pit stops right now. Scored Buffalo is your leader. PTG Neb runs 2nd. Claiming Racer 3rd. Dino Prime 4th. SRD Shredder now pits farther back in the grid. Neb giving Scored a big shove as they go down the front straightaway. Now Neb looks to the outside, but as he does so, he leaves the inside open to Claiming Racer. Side by side for 2nd. Claiming on the inside, Neb on the outside. They're still neck and neck, but Neb cannot seem to master that extreme outside line the same way that Claiming was, but Claiming will fall back in line behind Neb. Neb's now going to try and look to the inside. Scored Buffalo. He's not willing to commit to it though. They'll all still be nose to tail as they come out of the corner. Nose to tail for the top 4 positions as they come across the line. Scored, Neb, Claiming, and Dino now starting to lose touch with our top 3. Neb has a big sideways moment as they go into turn number 1. Claiming fires it up on the inside. Very nearly gets alongside, but Neb shuts the door at the last possible moment. Claiming falls back in line to 3rd position now. Maybe Racing is now closing the gap down. He's less than 3 seconds out from our top 4 at this moment. So maybe at least Solo is faster than these 4 are when they're all running in a train, it would appear. Scored Buffalo leads. Neb is 2nd. Now Neb has a big sideways moment as they come out of turn number 4. He ends up on the inside. He's trying to go deep. He'll go very deep going into turn number 1. He'll turn disadvantage into an advantage. Side by side for a lead. Scored on the outside. Neb on the inside, but he's not able to complete the overtake on Scored. Scored has a bit of a wobble coming out of turn number 2, but he still has great momentum coming off of the banking. Side by side down the back straightaway. Scored is just about cleared Neb going into turn 3, but Neb once again is going to fire off very deep as they go into the following corner. They're coming up on Thomas 086R just ahead. No, Thomas is going to pit, so he will not be a factor. There'll be 3 wides that come across the line. Claiming up the middle is going to go right into the lead once again. Still side by side between Scored and Neb though for 2nd position, but Claiming Racer is back into the lead of this event. Dino runs right behind this group, but he is not showing as much aggression as these 3 drivers ahead of him are. Neb leads now as he goes deeper than Claiming into the following quarter, and Claiming slides out a little bit. The rear end got a little bit away from him. Scored's gonna go deep. He'll get by Claiming. Dino's gonna go deep. He's gonna pull alongside Claiming. 2 by 2 for the top 4 positions. Scored inside. Neb outside. Scored will be able to go nice and deep into the following corner. He slides the car a little bit high. Both Scored and Neb lose a bit of momentum, but Neb still has the nose ahead. Scored trying to keep Dino behind him. Dino's thinking maybe going to the extreme inside, make it 3 wide. He will not do it, not this time at least. Still side by side between these leaders, and you have to wonder where are these 4 going to go ahead and make their stops. They've got to be nearly out of fuel. They've only got 7% left in the tank from PTG Neb, and the other drivers will be in a similar position right now. Scored now gets a big shove by Dino, and that puts Scored into the lead. Dino's trying to follow suit, and Dino will follow suit. Neb's going to slip back to 3rd, trapped on the extreme outside. Neb's now going to fall to 4th as he falls behind Claiming Racer. Neb and Claiming now losing a little bit of touch with Dino and Scored at the head of this field. Dino and Scored were side by side in last night's Trans Am race, which was run by IFEA. Dino was very frustrated. He felt that he had that race won, but Scored nipped him. He would love to try and pull one back over on Scored across the line. We are looking at about 44 laps left in the event right now. These 4 drivers all still have to make their final stop. Everyone else on track outside of these 4 and maybe Racing back in 5th have already made their pit stop though. Scored leads, Dino 2nd, here comes Claiming, here comes Neb, all perfectly nose to tail, bumper to bumper as they fire it off in single file formation going into turns 3 and 4 once again. Dino, Scored's going ghost mode. Scored's ducking into the pits. Scored slides it into the pits. And in the process, he held Dino up so much that Dino went from second to third, and Claiming Racer now pulls out a lead of over a quarter of a second on PTG Neb. Neb has Dino right behind him, so all of a sudden this turns into a massive windfall for Claiming Racer. And now the question is going to be, where is Scored Buffalo going to be in relation to the likes of Jack Broseph and SRD Shredder and NFL Racer? Because those were the drivers that Scored had to worry about. Neb gets back to the inside of Claiming Racer. Neb's going to complete the overtake. Claiming's going to get to the inside. They make contact, and he hooks him. He hooks Neb, and Neb is sideways. He's backwards, coming out of turn number 4 in the middle of the track. Very nearly gets hit by NFL Racer, but he does not get anyone hitting him. They should be able to stay green. They will stay green. So now Dino leads, and Claiming Racer is a full second behind Dino, as Claiming was held up so much in that process. So Claiming has fallen way behind Dino. Claiming is all by himself and is now just about to be caught by Maybe Racing. And for Neb, he is going to lose half of a lap in that process. Coming into the pits, that is Dino, Claiming, and Maybe all coming and pitting at the exact same time. So our top 3 all pit. I imagine that we'll see PTG Neb pitting this lap as well. Yes, he does. So now we focus on Scored Buffalo, who had just pitted a little bit earlier. He is still ahead of Jack Broseph by a significant margin. By pitting early, is that going to be all it will take for Scored Buffalo to get back into the lead of this race? He's still roughly a full lap behind the leaders by the ticker, but we'll see that adjust momentarily as he comes onto the front straightaway. It looks like, from my perspective though, Dino is leading over Claiming Racer though by a pretty significant margin. Here comes Scored Buffalo. He's got a full head of steam. He's rip-riding it around the outside in turns 1 and 2. He's got a great run. He's clear of Jack, clear of Claiming, clear of Maybe. He sees Dino as Dino is coming out of pit lane right now. Dino could not clear Scored Buffalo. Dino is going to fall to second, might even fall to third, because Claiming Racing has a run. Claiming Racer is going to pull up right... No, I do not think Claiming Racer got him. So I was wrong. No, that was Jack who got him. It looks like Claiming's made a mistake, and now Claiming's fine with Shredder and Maybe Racing farther back. So Scored leads by almost an entire second. Then it is Dino Prime and Jack Broseph right in the second and third positions, and then 2.5 more seconds back, it is Shredder, Maybe Racing, Claiming Racer, and NFL. So a single driver pulling away, 2 drivers fighting for the last 2 podium spots, and then a 4-car pack for the positions of 4th through 7th right now. Neesmorph is way off on his own back in 8th position. PTG Neb runs in 9th. Stinky Potato runs in 10th. Pindaz is 11th, and Dramora is in 12th. They are 3 wide for this position for a moment. Please stand by as we are going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and we'll be back momentarily here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Homestead Miami Speedway. When we left you, Scored Buffalo had a 1-second lead over Dino Prime, and now we have come back, and Dino shoots to the inside, Scored Buffalo. Buffalo washes wide, going through turns 3 and 4. Dino Prime goes into the lead with Jack Broseph in second, right behind him. There are still nose to tail for our top 3 positions. There is also that 4-car pack from 4th to 7th, all running about 2.5 seconds behind this pair right now. Jack Broseph now goes to the inside. He'll clear Dino a little bit smoother. Jack goes back to the lead. Dino is now in second. Scored Buffalo still hanging out in third. Dino looks to the inside of Jack, is not going to push the issue though. Between these three, Dino pitted a little bit later, so he'll have tires that are ever so slightly fresher than this duo. But I don't know how much of an impact that's really going to have here. About 35 laps to go right now. 34 laps around there. Jack leads, Dino in second, scored Buffalo in third. Shredder is trying to lead a pack of cars behind to catch this lead trio here. We are on a significantly long green flag run. The first 20 or so laps were dotted with so many yellows, but now we are under a very long green flag run. The field keeps spreading out and then accordioning back together, and they spread out and accordioning back together. We have a 3-car breakaway at the head of this field, then a 4-car pack from 4th to 7th. Everyone else is running in single or 2-car packs, though, right now. Jack leads over Dino Prime and scored Buffalo, as these three are all running nose to tail. I imagine they're just trying to turn clean, good laps, so that way it does not bring the likes of maybe claiming Shredder or NFL up into the fray. Shredder has lost ground. Shredder has had some sort of issue, and once again, a self-inflicted mistake, and Shredder is going to fall all the way back to the 7th position now. Still is 3 cars for 1 through 3, and now is only 3 cars 4 through 6. So if you have a 3-car train up front and a 3-car train farther back, I imagine in that scenario, the train in front should have the advantage. As long as they're not compromising each other, they should be faster. And yes, already we're seeing that maybe Racing, Claiming Racer, the gap had whittled down to about 2 seconds. Now it is back up to 2 1/3. Might even be 2 1/2 by the time they get to the line here. Dino not really making any big moves on Jack. Now he may have to make a move with Jack. No, he'll actually back out so he stays right behind Jack. But still, despite Jack having a bit of a slide there in turn number 4, they are now 2.5 seconds ahead of 4th position. So these three, Jack, Dino, and Scored, are currently your fastest 3 drivers on the track at the moment. Everyone except for Thomas 086R are still running on the lead lap, but Pindaz and DIR Dramora are only about 7 or 8 seconds up the road from this group. At the rate they are going, they may be caught in the last 10 laps. Jack licks the outside wall coming out of the final corner. He's going to lose all contact with the lead duo. Now it is Dino Prime 77 and Scored Buffalo. They are running 1-2 at the very head of this field. Jack Brosa finally gets back up into play, but he is kind of stuck in no man's land. And as long as he stays solo, he will likely be slower than the drivers ahead and behind him. So he might be caught momentarily here by Claiming Racer and Maybe Racing. Claiming and Maybe side by side here. NFL runs just a little bit behind them. We ride briefly on board with NFL. You can see Maybe slides up high. Claiming's going to hold the inside line. Side by side as they go down the front straightaway for this 4th position. Claiming has the inside line. He can fire it off very deep into the corner. Maybe he's actually going to back out. He doesn't want to be forced off the track to avoid Claiming. So Claiming will now take over 4th position. Maybe slides down in 5th. NFL looks to the inside of Maybe 4th, 5th, going down the back straightaway. He is not willing to commit to the issue. Side by side is not going to be a factor. These three go back into single file formation. 4th, 5th, and 6th in a row. Now we all of a sudden we see Claiming Racer washing up high, coming out of turn number 4. Maybe gets back to his inside, side by side for 4th position, and it is Maybe who's back in front. But meanwhile, at the head of the field, it is Dino Prime 77 leading. Scored Buffalo 31 around here. Jack Broseph is 1.5 seconds out of this group. Maybe Racing is 3 seconds out from this duo right now. Is there a possibility that if these two start fighting, they'll bring Jack Broseph back into the fray? That is the big question. When they come to the line, it will be 27 laps to go here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Still nose to tail. Scored tucked up right behind Dino as they go down the back straightaway. Scored looking for a little bit higher line than what Dino is, so I don't think Scored is actively trying to force his way by Dino. I think he just wants to work with Dino and get the two of them to pull as far away from the rest of the grid as possible, so in the final few laps, when they do start fighting between each other for this position, they will not have to worry about other drivers factoring into it. Maybe Racing, Claiming Racer, and NFL all still on top of each other for 4th, 5th, and 6th positions right now. But it does look like Maybe and Claiming are the faster and more aggressive of this trio. Maybe washing up a little bit high. He'll lick the outside wall. Coming out turn number 4. Going to lose quite a bit of speed, and that's going to let Claiming get to his inside. Claiming goes right back by. Maybe he'll take the 4th position back over now. They are actually starting to run down on Jack Brosov, who is in 3rd position. He is now only 9/10 of a second ahead of this trio of cars now. Your leaders are still Dino Prime and Scored Buffalo, who are gradually pulling away from this group of cars right now. Unless we have a yellow flag, it looks to me like it will be Dino versus Scored Buffalo for the win of this race. But the question is going to be, when do they hit the go button? When will they start actively fighting for the position? Jack Brosov had a big sideways moment coming out of turn number 4. He's going to lose even more time to the leaders. He's still about 1 second ahead of 4th position though, but the gap, I would not have a lot of confidence in it staying there. I think Jack might not even finish podium with the way this is going. It seems like everything's starting to slip away from him here near the very end. Real quickly, we look at Scored Buffalo and Dino Prime. Scored is running with 62% in the fuel tank, 18.4% is his most worn tire. I look at Dino Prime, who is just ahead of him. He's got 66% in the fuel tank. He's got 16.6 most worn tire. So Scored has a little bit less fuel in the tank. Dino has slightly fresher tires. So look, depending on how you think, do you think it's better to have a more stable rear end, or do you think it's better to have fresher tires that can catch the car in the event of a slide? That may be the big deciding factor between this duo. Typically, Dino does not win races in any FEC or IFEA event if Scored Buffalo is in it. Every single time that these two drivers have been in a FEC or IFEA event, Dino has never won. That's not to say Dino has never won under these umbrellas of organizations, but every time that both these drivers are in the same race, Dino has never pulled off the victory. He came close last night in the IFEA Trans Am event, but Scored Buffalo is running second to Dino right now. This is the chance for Dino to maybe get some redemption, maybe try and bounce back here at Homestead. BTG, Nevin, Sneaky Potato side by side farther back. Also, Dramore and Pindaz here are going to be passed. That's Pindaz, who is now gone a lap down. Dramore will be the next driver to go a lap down, but they were nice enough to get out of the way of our lead group, so there will not be a significant factor here in holding up the leaders, at least not Pindaz. What of Dramora? Dramora is holding a line very close to the ideal racing line, interestingly enough. So Dino may have to go on. Oh, and that's interesting. Pindaz is jumping into the pits. Dino goes to the inside of Dramora, and Dramora will go nice and high. He will not hold up the lead group any longer. So these two have now opened up a gap with about 21 laps to go here. Meanwhile, Jack Brosov has now fallen into the clutches of Claiming maybe an NFL. It is a 4-car fight for 3rd position. These 4 are all running about 3 seconds out of the lead. Seems like now that there is a 4-car pack, even though Dino and Scored are not fighting with each other, these 4 are just running some slightly faster lines right now. They are very slowly running the gap down between themselves and the top 2. Less than 20 laps to go as they came across the line that time. The gap now is starting to shrink between 3rd place and the 2nd place. All right, we are going to go ahead and knock out a Twitch-mandated ad break and when we come back, assuming there are no more yellows, we will take you to the finish here at Homestead Miami Speedway. We will be back momentarily. I didn't want to have to do an ad break there. For crying out loud, Twitch. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll welcome you back here to Homestead Miami Speedway. There's only about 15 and a half laps left in this event right now. The gap between the top two and everyone from third to sixth has started shrinking, but it's not shrinking fast enough. While Jack Broseph is leading these 4 cars in a train to run down the top 2, they are not closing fast enough. The big question, though, is that when will Scored say, I've had enough, and he's going to go for a big lunge on Dino? I absolutely believe that Scored has a car under him to make big lunges. Will he wait until the last possible lap to try and make a run on Dino? The big thing is that as Jack Broseph continues to take off 1 more tenth out of this gap, basically the way it is looking to me, if Jack is taking off 1/10 of a second a lap, he would need 21 laps to catch the leaders. That math doesn't work out. If he's catching by 2/10, he would be able to catch them with about 4 or 5 laps to go. That math would work out. Again, Jack takes off about 1/10 and a half. You do the math, that would get Jack right on Scored Buffalo's rear bumper, but it would not let him get up alongside Dino proper. And again, when will Jack, claiming maybe an NFL, say we've had enough and start fighting out for themselves? Or are we going to see those 4 be committed to each other and stay in this single file formation to the very end? I'm sure Jack wants to see that, but I'm sure Dino and Scored would not want to see that. As they come out of the final corner once again and they come across the line, it is 13 laps to go here at Homestead Miami Speedway. As long as there's not a yellow flag, we will be here with you to the end of this race. Over the last few laps, it looks to me like Scored is struggling a little bit to keep up with Dino, but I think it is a ploy. I think Scored is trying to give Dino a sense of false confidence. Again, Scored beat Dino last night in the Trans Am IFEA season finale race, and I imagine he's trying to set everything up to do the same thing again. Jack has now closed the gap down to about 1.6 seconds between himself and the lead group. It is 11 laps left. If Jack can close by about 1.5 tenths every lap, he would still be able to catch them, but might not have enough time to actually make a move. Scored now pulls up onto Dino's rear bumper. He looked to the inside, but did not go for a move. Another 1/2 tenth gone through that half of a lap. There is still a distinct possibility that Jack will catch these 2, but I do not know if he's going to have enough time to do anything to fight with these 2. The other thing is going to be tire life. All these drivers pitted at slightly different times. Jack is at tires with 39.3% wear right now. I look at Dino, who's one of the last in this group to pit. His tires are at 28.8% wear. So Dino does not have to worry about tire fall off. Drivers like Jack will have to worry about tire fall off. Scored Buffalo only pitted 1 lap earlier than Dino, so while he has a slight tire disadvantage, it's not a gigantic one. Scored look to the inside of Dino there. As they come to the start-finish line, it'll be 10 laps to go now here at Homestead Miami. The last 10 laps, 15 miles here. So in about 5 minutes time, we should know who's going to pull off this victory. Dino holds station over Scored Buffalo. The gap opens to the biggest it's been between these 2 for a while. Jack has now closed the gap down to 1.25 of a second. The big thing is that once Jack gets within about 3/4 of a second of the leaders, he will start getting a draft and can use that to try and run down on them. The gap now closes down again. It's now down to just 1 second as they come across the line. Jack Broseph is 1 second out of the lead duo. Now the gap is less than a second. As they came across the line, it is now 9 laps to go here. 8 laps to go. Lap car, that was Stinky Potato, who was trying to get out of the way of those the lead lap cars. I don't think he's going to end up being too much of a factor here. Jack still 9/10 of a second out of our top 2. If he can get within 8/10, he should start getting the draft off of Scored Buffalo and might be able to make a big run out of it here. This pack of 4 cars is definitely going to be a factor, but I don't know if all 4 of them will have a chance to actually make moves for the lead. Honestly, outside of Jack, I don't know if any of them will have a chance to go for Dino unless Scored says screw this and he goes for a dive on Dino early. It's going to come down to, is Scored willing to come home for a guaranteed second, or is he going to be willing to start fighting with Dino and possibly get the win, or maybe fall as far back as 6th? As they come to the start-finish line, it is now 7 laps to go. Jack is now within 2/3 of a second. So that is going to basically confirm it. I think Scored has lost a little bit of his focus now as he's trying to get into Dino's head, and in the process has brought this pack of cars up. So we are going to see, by the looks of it, a 6-car train that will fight over the last 2 or 3 laps here at Homestead Miami. These 4 cars, Jack, Clayton, Maybe, and NFL, have shown some incredible discipline to not get side by side, has brought them right back, just barely in the draft range of the lead group. Scored still runs behind Dino right now. Now the gap is down. It's down to about half a second. The ticker has made a mistake there. It's not properly recording it, but from my eyeballs, it looks like about half a second between Jack and Scored Buffalo. He most definitely has the draft on Scored Buffalo now. So it will be a 6-car fight to the end. There is some traffic way up the road, but there's not going to be enough time for them to catch. As they come to the line, there'll be 5 laps to go as they come across the start-finish line. Scored Buffalo still right behind Dino Prime. Jack is 0.6 of a second out from the leaders. He's catching a draft off of Scored Buffalo, and that is letting him continue to chip away at this. Time, I think, is going to be just enough time for Jack to make 1, maybe 2 moves for these top 2 positions. If he can't make those 2 moves stick perfectly, though, I don't think he's going to be able to get the win here. It just takes so long for an overtake to stick. Once he gets side by side with someone, more often than not, it seems to take an entire lap to complete the overtake. It is now 4 laps to go as they come across the line. Jack is within 1/3 of a second of the leader now. Jack opens up a bit of a gap now on Claiming Racer as he gets a fantastic draft off of Scored Buffalo. Is Scored going to give up? Is he going to stop fighting with Dino? Does he wants to get into the lead so that way he can try and defend against Jack? That's going to be the question. And now they go into turns 3 and 4. Nose to tail for a top 6. The top 6 have all found each other once again. Dino Prime is your leader. The big wild card is going to be Jack. His tires have some significant wear on them, but he's going to go to the inside. He's side by side with Scored Buffalo with 3 laps to go. Now he's going to go deep into turn number 1. Jack on the inside, Dino Prime side by side for a lead. Jack side by side with Dino, and now Scored has to deal with Claiming Racer behind. Dino on the outside line is still holding the lead just for the moment. Jack on the inside doesn't have anyone push him, but he can fire it off very deep into the following corner once again. He does. Now he makes a little bit of contact with Dino. He gets sideways. He's really sideways. He holds up everyone behind him. Claiming gets backed up. Maybe gets backed up. NFL gets backed up. 2 laps to go. Dino and Scored nose to tail once again, and now Jack's still 3rd, but he has to hold off Maybe as Maybe tries to get to his inside. Maybe could not make the overtake stick. Jack falls back to 3rd with just 1.5 laps left. He is going to have maybe 1 chance under the most optimal circumstances. What about Scored? When is Scored going to go ahead and make the move on Dino? Dino has never been able to beat Scored for a race win in any event, in any series. Will he finally be able to do it again? Not again, but do it for the first time. They come down to the white flag. Jack has a run on Scored. He's going to go to the inside of Scored Buffalo. He's going to go deep. He's going to try and get alongside Dino. He cannot make the overtake stick. He's still on the inside, though. Dino is committed to an outside line. Dino's going to try and cut down on Jack. Jack is now side by side with Scored Buffalo for a 2nd position. Side by side for a 2nd position. Jack can go really deep into turn number 3 for the final time. Dino outside. Jack inside. Neck and neck. Here comes Maybe Racing. Will he have the run? Dino gets a little bit of a push from Scored. Jack is on the inside. Dino outside. Denny to the line. And it's going to be Jack or Dino. I could not tell who won it. It says that Jack won, but it looked to me like it was a Dino victory. It looked to me like Dino got that. The game says it was Jack Broseph, but from my perspective, it looked like it was Dino who took home that victory. Maybe he's credited with 3rd, Scored is credited with 4th, and I don't think I'm not sure that's right either. Claiming 5th, NFL 6th, Shredder 7th, Neb 8th, Neesmorph 9th, Dromora 10th, Potato 11th, Pindaz 12th, Thomas 13th, and that will round out the field. We're going to knock out a Twitch mandated ad break, and when we come back, we'll try to get post-race interviews with our top finishers here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Homestead, Miami. There's a little bit of confusion over who exactly has won the event. The officials are looking over the recordings right now. The game has Jack Brosov credited as the victor, but as recordings of the ending of the event are coming in, it is still being decided on who actually took home the win. Real quickly, let's go ahead and talk to somebody who was not quite there. I want to talk to the driver we think took home third place position, Maybe Racing. Maybe. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead and include your audio in the Xbox party. Interesting time. You were up front and never really left the front pack, but it seemed like you were on an unideal strategy. Still, you had the discipline to stay in the middle of a 4-car train to catch the lead pack at the very end. What do you have to say about that run out there today?
Strategy was right. It was just the way I was making pace wasn't combining well with everyone else. That's why when I was leading, we couldn't make pace. I was making pace 2 cars, a car and a half up above everyone, so we couldn't get momentum going. Apart from that, at the end it just came down to not quite having the right place. That's racing. Good racing there. I believe the call is going to go towards Dino by a bumper. It looks like that by the clip. So, apart from that, it looked like everything's gone well. Just didn't have the right spot at the end.
All right, well, we saw you had a top 3 result last week at Sunset, a top 3 result here today as well. You're still right in the middle of the championship fight here with 3 races left. Do you think you still have a shot at running down Jack in this?
I would say so. I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, everything can happen. So we'll see.
All right, well, that's the word from Maybe Racing. Back-to-back podium results here in the IROC event. It seems like Maybe just does not care where he starts these races. He knows how to get back to the front. Now I want to talk to one of the 2 drivers who were involved in that crazy finish at the end. From my perspective, it looked like Dino got it, but if he did, it was by the tiniest margin possible. But Jack, whether or not he got it, you were basically spinning out of control there with about 30 or so laps to go. You fell 2.5, 3 seconds behind the leaders, and you were still able to run them down and make 2 big charges at the end. How in the world did you make that happen?
It's not. There we go. I'm honestly not too sure how I was able to make that happen. I had a lot of trouble. I'm not even sure if you noticed. I ran out of fuel across the line. It might be part of the reason I was a little bit faster is I was lighter on fuel. But, I mean, it just... From saving fuel all of the second stint, just to make it to the end, which I barely did, nearly spinning multiple times, getting myself in the wall, getting put in the wall, to even be that close to the win, I'm super proud of what I did today. I wish I could have gone 2 in a row, but a first and a second is good for the championship still. So, yeah, I think I was really happy with how I drove. I think I had fastest lap on the day, and thankful to Maybe Claiming, and I think it was NFL. Who were able to push me back up. I made the mistake running with the top 2, and then I couldn't catch back up to them, so I dropped back on purpose, hooked back up with them, and then brought everybody to the front. So just happy with how this Nissan drove, and I'll take a second place here, especially when I've had such bad luck at Homestead in the past. So
all right,
I think it's been a good day for me today, and congrats to Dino as well.
Well, there
I
are
think it's
3
the second
different...
time I finished second to him here.
Yeah, I think it is, actually. Also, 3 different times, well, not 3 different times, there are 3 different races on the ovals in the state of Florida in this game. You finished in the top 2 in the first 2, so maybe you'll have a good run at Daytona as well.
Yeah, I think I won here in IndyCar, so.
Yeah. I do want to ask, though, do you think, I'm going to really get in there and stir the pot now, you were the main driver to help build and design this car and set up the car for this series. Do you think that has given you a significant advantage? Throughout most events in the IFEA and FEC umbrella, while you have good runs, you're usually not up there with your Maybe Racing scores or claimings. You're up here consistently now in this series. Do you think you have gotten yourself an unfair advantage by being the driver to design these cars in this series?
I've always been there on ovals. Maybe you'll attest to that. I've always been there on ovals. I won in IndyCar. I don't think that it's nothing. I think a large part of it is the fact that I drove a car somewhat similar to this in the 80s NASCAR series. I think if anything helps me, it's that. Especially on restarts. I've tried to give everyone the tricks of the trade, but you got a brake boost to get the turbos built up. And I don't think anyone's mastered that. So certainly on restarts, that helps me just because no one has either known what I'm saying when I say that or hasn't tried it yet. but I don't think that my pace relative to maybe or claiming or scored is any different. I've always been very quick on ovals.
All right, and I can definitely testify to what you were doing with the brake boost stuff. We saw you do something kind of similar to that back in the IndyCar races here, and when you were up front in one of the earlier restarts, you absolutely peeled away on the inside line, even though the inside line was not an ideal lane for most of the restarts today. So I can definitely testify to the brake boost aspect. Well, Jack, 2 races down, 3 to go. I look forward to talking to you again over the next 3 weeks of the season.
Likewise to you.
All right. Back out of the party if I've already done interviews, just so hopefully the party doesn't bloody crash. Yep. All right, I'm going to try and reach out to a few more drivers here who are top 5 finishers. But I don't know if any of them are actually going to be able to jump in or not. All right, yep, coming into the party now. We're going to get somebody. It will be Scored Buffalo. Scored Buffalo, are you able to hear me?
I can.
All right, in the Xbox party, go ahead and include your audio if you can.
I did.
All right, Scored, it was a very interesting run out there. You were one of the drivers right at the front the entire time, pretty much from start to end. But I have to ask, you had a lot of discipline staying behind Dino for basically the entire last 40 laps of the race. It didn't look like you made a single move on him there. Why did you have that discipline? Were you just committed to coming home second? Do you feel that Dino had you beat? Or was it something else?
I was just fine with taking second, so rather than trying to pass him and then having the pack of what I think was 4 cars behind us, yeah, rather than having them catch up to us, I'd rather try and secure second before trying to fight Dino. But then they caught up anyway, so I'd just rather stick with Dino until the end.
Well, it was a fantastic, disciplined run, which is something we don't normally see from you. Normally when we see you in, whether it's IFEA, FEC, IESC, TORA, almost anything we've ever seen you in, you always seem to just have extremely ridiculous amounts of pace. And again, I'm really focusing on this. It might seem silly to you, but I'm really focusing on this because we don't usually see this. Usually you just have ridiculous pace and destroy everybody else. This is the first time I think I've ever seen you be reserved over a full run. Is this a skill that you've just been keeping in the back all this time, or is this something you've been actively working on over the last few months?
I just kind of shut up and race, to be honest. But because I don't do this kind of racing, so and throughout the race, I kind of didn't really know what line I wanted to take. So rather than try and figure that out, and then try and fight Dino, I would just rather be in the draft, get help from that, and then try to keep the gap between me and Dino and the rest of the 4 cars that are behind us that were also working together. So, yeah.
All right. Well, there are still 3 more races in the series. Sadly, you missed the season opener, so you're not likely to have a big impact on the championship. But can we anticipate to see you in any of the remaining 3 races in this series?
There's a possibility. I think, yeah, you'll probably see me in either 1 or 2 more.
All right, we'll definitely be keeping an eye out there, mate. You had a fantastic run out there. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us post-race as well.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to try and send one more invite out to Claiming Racer. Dino is in the party, but I'm going to assume that he is not going to include audio. I'm assuming he doesn't have a headset plugged in or anything. I will wait a little bit if Dino wants to prove me wrong. I'm also going to wait a little bit to see if Claiming Racer is going to jump into a post-race interview party. But if not, that will pretty much wrap up our broadcast here. All right, there's no sign that Claiming Racer is going to jump into the party, and no sign that Dino is going to include audio, so that will pretty much... Oh, Discord message. Okay, 1 second then. I will quote what Dino has sent in a Discord message, and I'm assuming it's the one he sent privately. Then, no, probably not. It might be the one that he tagged me with. Claiming he's trying to remember how the app works. Lamau. It's fine. All right, here we are from Dino. Quote, that was fun as hell. Also, quote, I'm very happy it actually ended under a green run and I was somehow able to beat track in a drag race here again. So, yeah, that's the word from the driver we believe is the race winner. Again, it's a little bit up in the air, but from the video evidence and the picture evidence from the drivers who were involved, it looks like the final result of this race is going to Dino Prime 77 officially over Jack Broseph. It looks like it's Maybe Racing who will get 3rd, Scored Buffalo will get 4th, Claiming will be 5th, NFL will be 6th, Shredder will be 7th, PTG Neb will be 8th, Neesworth will be 9th, 10th will be DIR Dramora, 11th will be Stinky Potato, 12th will be Pindaz, and 13th will be Thomas 086R. And with that in mind, I'm going to try and get one more invite sent out to Claiming here, but if he's not able to make it work in the next few minutes, I'm not going to waste everyone's time and we'll shutter the broadcast here. One last invite just in case he wants it. Oh, here we are. Claiming coming in. Claiming, are you able to hear? Oh, give me a second. He's still in ghost. Nope, we lost him. I'm going to try it one more time here. Oh, all right, here we are. Claiming, coming in the party. Claiming, are you able to hear me? In the Xbox party, there will be a little box to click that will say include audio. Can you go ahead and hit that? All right. Claiming it was an interesting race. You led a big chunk of the middle third of the event, but when it all came down, you slipped down to 5th in the end. What do you have to say about your run out there today?
Yeah, it was interesting package with the car and the track. It was kind of like a plate race, but not a plate race. So it was like I found if I would stay on the outside, and if I could hold the guy on the inside down enough that I could hold the lead. But ultimately, I did not have full out pace. It was just car has so much grip that on the wheel, you almost over grip the car when you try to push it. So I was struggling with that, and then had a little incident, at the beginning of the pit cycles with Neb. I think he went to my inside and then tried to pit and left I didn't know he was pitting, and I probably lost 3 or 4 seconds with that. So that kind of took me out of that. And then just trying to catch back up at that point and working with Trap maybe in NFL. Just trying to run Dino and Scored down, which we ended up getting there, I think, with 2 laps to go or something. But I just, track got a little loose coming into the white flag, and I wasn't sure what he was going to do, if he was going to slide up the track or not, and I didn't really go for it, and from then on it was just, didn't really have anything for the last lap.
Well, it was still a top 5 result. You didn't show up last week, sadly, but despite that, you went basically from the rear to the front. There are still 3 more races in the series. Is there a possibility we'll see you in the next 3 races here for FEC's IROC series?
Next 2 weeks, definitely not. If there is a third week, I might be there for that, but not sure.
All right, well, even if it ends up being just a one-off, it was a quite respectable one-off, to say the least, mate.
Thanks.
All right, and that's the word from Claiming Racer. And with that in mind, I'll wrap up our post-race broadcast. I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Layer 13. In 1 week's time, we will be back with another race for FEC's IROC Championship. So please feel free to tune back in. But until then, stay safe, everyone. Farewell and goodbye.